Right, welcome again everyone to our CAWASA Wednesday webinar as it has become now. And we'd like to welcome all of you, and particularly our partners from Canada, from Operators Without Borders. Our presentation this afternoon will be on, this is our 6th webinar, Occupational Health and Safety for Water and Wastewater Operators. Just what I'm trying. Sorry, everybody. I'm going to start this again because people. I'm just going to start again, people. That I would ask you when you join the chat. I have you on silent, so please remain muted so that you do not disturb the proceedings, because we are recording this webinar for your good, that you can review them, and we would like it to be clean. So please. So I'm just like to again welcome Mr. Ron Enns, who started in the public sector in 2002 at the City of Vancouver Engineering Department. Working in many positions over the years, he began to take an interest in safety and instruction. After receiving his adult instructional certificate, he became the Assistant Superintendent of Occupational Health and Safety and began teaching part-time for BC Water and Wastewater Association, World Water and Wastewater Solutions, and recently he was part of an instructional team training in the Caribbean with Belize Water Services through Operators Without Borders. Ron was soon recognized for his passion for better operator education and was asked to join Kwantlen Polytechnic University in 2015 to develop and manage the water and wastewater education in BC, Western Canada, and Yukon. So I'd like us to welcome Mr. Ron Enns, who will be our presenter on occupational safety for water and wastewater operators. Over to you, Ron.
Ron, I think you're on mute.
Oh, can you hear me there? Thank you very much, Ignatius. Sorry about that. You're right. I appreciate that. Thank you. And I look definitely looking forward to this. And yeah, I'm excited to chat about occupational health and safety in the public works area, especially around water operators. So I've got a presentation. We might as well start with that, and we'll kind of go through the who, what, when, where, and whys. Just give you a kind of a brief overview. We're just going to talk a little bit about why safety. I'll talk a little bit about the training that we did in Belize and for the reasons why we did it. Also, we're going to talk about some of those hazards. We're going to touch along some of the general hazards, and then we're going to focus in on a little bit more specific types of hazards, some of the more common accidents that occur. We'll talk about the hazards directly related to water operators and those hazards as well. We're going to specialize a little bit today in personal protective equipment. We're going to talk about a lot of reasonings why we should be using it and best ways and how we can. We'll talk about some of the trench hazards and some of the trenching work and some of the safety devices that we can utilize and different safety policy or procedures around that. We're going to talk about other utility hazards in general. We're also going to talk about what you can do. So, you know, what is a good safety system that we can set up. And then we're going to talk a little bit about training and mentoring and a little bit about Operators Without Borders. So we will start. And let me share this with you. Thank you, Ignatius, for allowing me to do so. And here we go. All right, so basically, yeah, we've already talked about that. So basically, why safety? Well, occupational health and safety obviously is an important piece. It protects the well-being of employee, visitors, customers, public, and everybody that's around the system. A very integral part of any type of business. Looking after health and safety, you know, obviously makes good business sense. There's a lot of lost time, a lot of costs around lost time that we obviously don't want to concur. Treating our employees obviously with a whole lot of help, especially not in operational training, but also in safety training, can really lead to a much more efficient workplace and a lot better on your overall dollar. Also, workplaces tend to neglect occupational health and safety tend to risk a lot of possible prosecution depending on the severity of the mishaps, injuries, things that may happen, violence, that type of thing. They can lose staff, increase costs, reduce profitability. It's never a good safety plan is an effective plan that can usually lead to a very profitable business. So Operators Without Borders, we got called out to training in Belize back in February. Operators Without Borders and Valerie was quite kind enough to give me a call, and I was very happy to go down there and do some of that training. And it was in response to a trench collapse that they had, an injury where they had a serious injury. They had a large bank collapse on a bunch of workers. One specifically got hit pretty hard, and it was very close to a death type circumstance. He was lucky; he did survive. And I got to meet him personally, and we got to chat about a lot of other things, including most of the staff that were there. But it led to the manager and the staff, really not wanting to make that phone call if something had really seriously happened, especially in a death. I mean, nobody wants to make that phone call their family and say, hey, unfortunately something happened at work. So, there was definitely a good opportunity to do some training for them. I was happy to go down there and learn about their system, and a lot of the focus was to go down and not just teach what we do here or up in where I'm from, but to find out really what happens down there and train the things that are going to help in that type of circumstance. So very much a customized type training. I feel that most people will get a lot better out of it if we can relate to what they're doing, how they're doing it, and then try to make some recommendations on some of the things that they can do better. But it's a step-by-step process. Everybody's safety is at a different level. Every city, every municipality, every different country has a different level of safety. And it's not about just absolutely throwing all the safety out there at once. It's about taking little baby steps slowly and progressively and building a safety culture. And we're going to talk about that towards the end. So the things that we did there, we trained 120 staff. Operations, safety committee staff, as well as some management. We concentrated on confined space entry. That was the big one that they wanted. We did utility hazards above and below because there is a lot of concerns about utility hazards, not only what you're digging in the ground, but a lot of times what's above you and how you can contact those lines and what can happen if we did so. We focused a good chunk of it in trench and excavation work and around being safe and understanding soil mechanics and soil movement and how to really look at all the different warning signs ahead of time. And then we did a good chunk on chemical safety. A lot to do with some of the chemicals they're using both in water treatment as well as in wastewater treatment and just through the whole process. Obviously, most of our water operators are dealing with some very interesting chemicals in their business and in their work. So here's a picture of us in the class. We're doing some of the theory at this point. We also had a team out there actually visiting the sites. So although I was in the classroom for pretty much a whole week, teaching different groups every 2 days, because that's more my focal area and my strength is the instruction, I'm still an operator. Don't get me wrong, I'm a wastewater and water operator, and I teach both water and wastewater certifications here in Canada. But my biggest focus has always been on safety, and that put me in a good position to do the classroom. But we also had a team of 4 there. So we had 3 others, some of them were sitting on the right there at the end of the row. If you do see the picture, that ended up going out to the sites, looking at the overall sites, helping with the operational systems and with safety systems as well. So it was a really good mix good mix with the 4 of us being there, all having our own specialties: treatment, water, and sewer systems. So what are the hazards? Well, we probably already know them all, but construction is one of the world's biggest industries and sectors. I mean, especially in the Caribbean, it's a big industry. A lot of developing countries, it's one of the fastest growing areas when it comes to the labor market. Yes, we're construction too. As much as there's construction in buildings, infrastructure above ground, there's infrastructure below ground. A lot of the same similar safety processes need to be followed. It is, however, one of the most dangerous industries. Construction is considered what we call a Class A hazard, which is one of the most dangerous. We will always have injuries in our business, and we hope we don't have deaths, but there are deaths that do occur in our business, and they do occur annually. It's an unfortunate part about it, and of course, none of us ever want to have it, but we do want to be able to focus on that safety piece so we can prevent that. And is there a ground zero? I mean, a lot of people have asked me too, can we get it down to 0 injuries? And yes, I believe we can. How we're going to get there, it's a tough road. It's not an easy road, but it is attainable. I don't know if it'll be attainable in my generation as I'm getting closer and closer to retirement, but it could be hopefully in the younger generation. So 30% of all occupational health and safety fatalities occur in construction. So obviously a very dangerous industry. Causes these accidents or ill health construction sectors are well known, and there are preventable. Many construction sites, or many construction injuries are preventable injuries. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through. Poor image of construction jobs as being traditionally dirty, difficult, dangerous. Yeah, it is a dirty business. It's an outside. We're working out in the weather. We've got all kinds of, we have to deal with the weather, the environment. We have to deal with traffic. We have to deal with a lot of things out there that not traditionally somebody say in an office format would have to be concerned about, but something that we can still control. So, and this has made work in construction increasingly temporary, insecure. Been a lot of movement in construction. You don't generally keep people there very long, which really is difficult on the training and mentoring piece, but there are ways of doing it. And the impact on occupational health and safety has always been the challenge. And these obviously increase the level of risks, but there are ways to implement a safety program and a plan. And I'll kind of show you a structure of what we've done in the past that's been very successful here in Canada. Some of the more common accidents, usually I hear it all the time, is the slip, trips, and falls. Tripping over anything that's on the ground, could be anything from pipe or debris to tools to a variety of different things. So many things are happening around the construction sites. A lot of times we're into traffic. We've got a lot of concerns around us. We become what the word is complacent. When we become complacent, we don't see all those dangers all the time. Injuries while manual lifting or carrying. So, and that's a lot of your MSI injuries, your muscular structure, those are your tendons, your muscle pulls, those type of things get a lot of MSI injuries. And again, there's proper ways of lifting, and it sounds silly to me, but it took me a good year, working in sewers in the deep trenches before I realized there's a certain way you can shovel without using your back, using your arms and your legs. But I wasn't taught that until I asked, and until one of the senior guys showed me. So there's a lot of things you can learn. Struck by machinery, moving objects, and vehicles, definitely. I mean, machineries, when it comes to the machine and the human, the machine's always going to win. Moving vehicles, we have traffic, we have machinists moving around the job site. So there's constant things moving, and none of that stuff is safe. It's all can be destructive. So, having a good alert staff, knowing and being reminded of the safety is always a handy thing to do on a daily basis. Hand tool accidents are usually some of the most common as well. A lot of simple hand tools, again, not focused in it, or they're wet tools and slippery, or using the tools the wrong way, or taking off the safety devices so that we can get the job done a little easier, can always just increases the risk. That's not always necessarily needed. There's always ways of using things. And trench and confined space accidents. These are generally the most deadliest of all because they result in something serious injuries or death. And those two are the ones that we've always tried to focus on because of that, but that doesn't mean we ignore the rest. We always want to bring everything into the whole piece. So no one wants to make that call due to employee injury or death. I mean, that's not what we want to do. We want to keep our staff productive. We want to keep them happy. We want to keep them working and focusing on things that they like to do and want to do. And we want to be able to have them participate in safety. Participate in safety means they've got to be a part of it. So they're not just being told what to do, they're being asked not only what we can do, but is there a better way, or do you know of a better way? And hey, maybe that might be a good idea. We can implement that. It's making it part of a team atmosphere more so than I tell you to do it, you do it. Which unfortunately I hope will die with the older generation because that's just not part of the new one. So a lot of the direct hazards for water operators, definitely traffic control. Traffic is an unpredictability, and that's a big thing. We don't know what the traffic's going to do, where it's going to go, if it's somebody's going to decide to move, stop, go this way, go that way, or if the person that's actually driving the vehicle is even paying attention to what's going on around them. So it's always a big unknown, and that's part of the challenges for us. So traffic control keeping what we call a buffer zone or a bigger buffer zone, where as traffic approaches the construction zone, we might want to stretch that buffer zone out a little bit just in case, because we have some issues with those type of traffic issues or problems or that type of traffic. So work zones are definitely something that we've got to be aware of. Saw cutting concrete is, that's one of the big ones that I see out in the industry is the cutting concrete. We got a lot of concrete out there. We got to cut in order to dig, and especially in the roadways, curbs, and sidewalk panels. And that causes a lot of silicone dust, or silicosis is almost the new asbestosis. And again, that dust has that same small micron particle that gets stuck in the lungs and causes a lot of problems and damage to our lungs. So it's something that we need to be ahead of and aware of now, and the ways of working around it. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Digging safely, working around that equipment. So digging safely when you're working around that equipment, when to load, how to load, where the person, the spotter or the top man should stand in comparison to where the load's going to be discharged or side casted or loaded into a truck. So we got to know, we got to be able to be in communication. I found that simple communication with a lot of our crews works. And don't get me wrong, I'm going to come to you from a different perspective as well. Because I was posted sub foreman 3 for many, many years, and a posted foreman, I had to make sure that my crew I was responsible for, not only was I teaching, instructing, but now, and of course they know me as an instructor and a safety representative, but now they're on my crew and we're operational. So my safety was we never compromised on safety. We always were all about safety, but that doesn't mean we're all about operation. And I kept my crew in profitability. My crew always made money. Out of 18 crews, I was always in the top 5 in profit. And I was the safest crew out there. So it works. So people telling me that safety costs too much time, too much money, it can't be done, I call them on that right away because I proved it. So it can be done. It's just a matter of just being a bit more aware. And we'll talk some more about that a little bit later on. So exposing underground utilities safely, what's a good process around exposing utilities? Well, do we want to, what I would say, machine find it, or do we want to hand find it? If we hand find it, it's usually we're going to do very little to no damage to it. But if the machine finds it, it's always major damage. So we definitely don't want that. So we want to be able to hand dig and expose it, use whatever facilities we have to be able to probe around to find it before the machine touches it. We don't want the machine to touch it. Proper sloping, proper shoring, proper shielding. Trench safety is a big part, especially when you start digging those deeper trenches. You start going 4, 5, 6 feet, then it becomes a bigger concern. The deeper you go, the more increased chance that there could be a potential cave-in. Soil conditions are very unknown. Very hard to keep track of. I mean, that's the reason why they're such a danger, is because when they happen sometimes very quick and sometimes suddenly and without warning. So we've got to be able to put some protective systems in the ground, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Backfilling and paving and compaction around the utilities. That's an important part too. It's not only just the dangers of us, but when we're packing around, we got to pack these utilities properly so that they're well supported. And when the road travels and the traffic travels over top of the road, that pounds per square inch impact pressure is not being detrimental to it's not damaging the utility underneath the roadway. We've got to have enough material in there, enough compaction, compacted material that it's not going to damage over time and cause a rupture in the middle of the road. So those things are important pieces as well. And of course, slip, trips, and falls. We'll always talk about that because more it's around the job site work zones, cleanliness. It's just keeping it organized. It's like anything. We go down, we have a bunch of tools, we use our tools, we pick up our tools, we put them back in our bag, we walk back. And if you leave a tool behind accidentally, it's the potential for someone else to trip or slip or fall on it. And same thing with weather conditions and et cetera. So a lot of different hazards around that area. So those are more the direct hazards we're just talking about. Now let's talk about some of the indirect hazards. These are the hazards that not everybody thinks about. One big one is environmental. So environment around you. So that's your heat stress. What's that going to do to a person? How long can they be out there before they start getting fatigued? And when they get fatigued, then their mind isn't on task anymore. And the mind's not on task anymore. They start to become danger to not only themselves, but to other people around them. Airborne particles, not only the concrete dusting, but even dust been blown around from wind, from dry roadways, from drought scenarios. These airborne particles can be an issue and a problem. And there are ways of getting around it. Simply just spraying around the job site, just keeping the ground somewhat moist. Chemicals, definitely. Chemicals that not only relied upon the ground and contaminated soils, but chemicals that you might even be dealing with. Or even chemicals that might be like sewer gas, like H2S, like methane, in sewer systems like water, too much chlorine, not enough chlorine. A lot of these chemicals that we're putting into water systems, although it makes the water safe in small quantities, but in large quantities, it's deadly to us. So we got to keep mind on that as well. So biological, surprisingly, I've had to put up with certain animals and rodents in our system that were causing problems in our system. So those sometimes can become an issue or a problem. So can nesting of insects and all kinds of stuff. There's so many different biological things that can get into your system that can live on what's in there, but can also be a real problem for us when it comes to maintaining the system itself to ensure its efficiency. Ergonomic. There's a lot of ergonomic issues that most people don't even think about. When I say ergonomics, most people think, oh, desk, chair, comfort, keyboard. Well, that's all great and dandy, but out in the construction site, it's no different. Swinging a hammer. You swing a cheap hammer, it can be dangerous to you. You put a little bit more money into it, get a little bit of Skyping on the head, get a better balanced hammer, and when you're using it, it's so much smoother, it's easier, and it's less damaging. And that increases productivity. And when the person likes the tools that they use and enjoy the tools that they use, are comfortable with them, they tend to be more efficient. So it's a win-win situation down the road. So even ergonomics around tools that you use or equipment that you use, not jackhammering in a bad position, stand up, using protection on your feet when you're jackhammer, just being an example. There's so many different ergonomic things that you can use that can help you. We get into electrical hazards, still called indirect, but electrical hazards are sometimes an issue, especially above and beyond, because we don't see them, don't realize them, forget about them until we have contact with them, and then all of a sudden they become real right now. And that becomes a big, scary thing. So, electricity, we always got to be aware of where it is, and if it can arc or if it can travel. Humidity in the air can cause it to travel even further, because water is not an insulator, it's a conductor, especially moisture. So, and mechanical. Mechanical is you're being struck by machinery, your pinch areas, sprays by hydraulic oil from hydraulic machines. These are a lot of things that we need to be concerned about, and we have to be aware around. And it's not just those, it's using mechanical tools wrong, or oily tools, or slippery tools. That could be a problem too. Then we get into another indirectional hazard most people don't think about, is the emotional and psychological and even personal. So that's your MSIs that I talked about before, MSDs, mind on task, health, fatigue. Those are big things. Psychological. I met one person, I had no idea when I put him in manhole that he was afraid of confined spaces. It actually came out in a total panic. And for the first time, we didn't even realize that he was claustrophobic. I didn't even realize it. So it was something that we found out later. Maybe in our processes of hiring, we need to address that before we put that person into a scenario like that. That can really be, for that person, would have been a big emotional impact. Bullying and violence. That's another big one that's out there. And it's not just within our own crew. Sometimes it's outside our crew, or it's right beside us, or it's something that's happening right there while we're working on the streets. These are the things that we got to be concerned about too, and kind of in somewhat prepare yourselves. I mean, you can't prepare yourselves for absolutely everything, but you can prepare yourselves for things that you can see around you, and that could potentially happen, especially those that are higher risk. And then of course there's the public itself. And the public, the public risk is a big one for us. I mean, in a lot of ways, if the public sees us doing something wrong, that's another issue. Or if the public comes into a construction zone and they're unaware of all these different hazards, they could pose a huge risk, not only to themselves, but also to us. So we always have to keep the public informed and make sure that they know not only that we're going to be there, that we may have to block certain pieces of the road or the sidewalk or whatever it is, but the notification, the communication piece, reduces the risk. Most people avoid at that point, and those that do, we need to be able to help them out and say, hey, come over here. It says you can walk around this way. It's much, much safer. Those type of things. So those always help, but those are a lot of those indirect hazards. So that brings us now to personal equipment. So why PPE, or personal protective equipment? This was one that we struggled with, when I worked in public works 25 years ago. Honestly, we had PPE, we had the proper stuff, but people weren't using it. The safety glasses weren't being used when they should. Hard hat was being used backwards. Safety boots, weren't up to code and didn't have the proper steel toe, and they're not as effective. And of course now we have COVID. But we'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit and a little bit further on. But the personal protective equipment is one of the important pieces, and it's And I always hear the complaint, well, it's hard. I can't get my guys to wear it. I keep telling them, but they don't do it. And I said, well, that's the problem right there. You're telling them. I don't know anybody that loves to be told what to do and will do it happily. That is very rare. Everybody like to be asked what they do. They want to be asked, and they also want their advice. Well, why aren't you wearing your glasses? Is there a specific reason? Oh, well, yeah. Well, I don't like them because I can't find none that'll fit my head. Oh, well, hey, let's see if we can't find one that'll fit your head. And then when we do, then wow, okay, well, this is a lot better. Now I have a good reason to wear them because they're comfortable. I always think that when one of the biggest things, we'll get to heart in a second, but safety glasses, to me, first of all, prescription glasses are not safety glasses. Safety glasses protect from flying objects, striking objects. They're completely different. Prescription glasses are glass. They will shatter. They actually will cause more damage. But safety glasses are very strong plastic type material that will actually absorb a lot of the damage. So that way it won't strike and won't damage it. Because you got to remember, we only got two eyes. Once we lose them, you can't just pop a new one in. It doesn't work that way. So safety glasses, but you have to find good, comfortable safety glasses. You have to find ones that look good and that they'll wear. It's very important. I had many issues on my cruises with them not wearing safety glasses when our policies first came in place. But when I went out and spent a little bit of money, got a little better quality, more comfortable safety glasses, made sure they fit, took the rest back, before you know it, they're wearing them all the time. They're wearing them in their car. They were wearing them everywhere they went. It became a natural part of what they, and if it was in sunny, nice, cool, tinted glasses, worked fantastic. Everybody would wear them because they were comfortable and they look good. If you can follow that, then we're laughing. I mean, nobody wants to wear something that's uncomfortable and doesn't look good or fogs up on a constant basis. How are we going to work around that? So, but going back to hard hat's one of those things that we kind of take for granted. We should always be wearing them, of course. A lot of people say, well, there's nothing, from above that's going to ever hit me in the head. And I say, yeah, well, right at that moment, maybe. But if you go over there or go over here, or suddenly you're beside that building over there, then suddenly, whoa, look at that. Now we suddenly got, potentials for it. So yeah, we blanket safety sometimes, but there's nothing wrong with blanketing safety as long as everybody understands why they're wearing it and understands the circumstances of why they're wearing it. If they do, then they have a much better chance of wearing it. Then if they understand, oh, that's why you want me to wear it. Oh, well, that makes much more sense. And then that way I'll continue on. So that's an important piece of that. So, and wearing a hard hat correctly with the rim facing forward, not back. I know it's cool to wear it back, but honestly, that's not a good protectional system. But now saying that, read the manufacturer specifications of the hard hat. Some will allow you to turn that insert around and it still functions properly. If that's the case, as long as manufacturer specifications say that you can do that, then that would be the recommended value. So steel toe boots and shank, good steel toe boots, great. And a steel shank to make sure that no nails come through the boot or anything sharp comes through the boot. Definitely, and in most cases, most people wear them without even question. That's the funny thing. I used to always say too is, safety is a progressive thing. I was a kid, we never wore a seatbelt. In fact, one of my cars never even had a seatbelt when I was a kid back in the 70s. But now, wearing a seatbelt, who goes around not wearing a seatbelt? Doesn't happen as often anymore, right? So it just becomes a natural process to what we do on a day in and day out basis. And that increases our safety. And that brings us back to a mask, not only an N95, but just a general mask around COVID. And we'll talk a little bit about that, but I didn't want to get into a whole lot of detail around COVID because honestly, that is a whole topic on its own. But a dust mask protects you against dust. N95 is a particulate, right? So we want to protect you against that. You get into masks, then we can get into P100s. We can get into different types of chemical absorbing masks. But a dust mask is a dust mask. So just remember that that's where it protects you from, but make sure you know what kind of mask you're wearing. And also, it doesn't help to be fit tested for it. And I know it sounds strange. How do you be fit tested for an N95? But if you don't understand how the mask functions and why it functions the way it is, and how it can be pinched so it does function the way it is, then sometimes it's really hard to understand why you're wearing it. That'll bring us to trenches and trench hazards. Trench hazards are a great risk. They're one of the greatest risks for us, especially when it comes into cave-ins. Most people, the ground looks good, it looks solid, it's okay. Well, yeah, for now it might be, but for how long? And when you're down there, what's going to happen? And that's a big concern. So we really need to take some care around these trenches. There are many different ways to make them safe, and we'll show in the next slide, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But a lot of the fatalities happen in trench and trench-related instances and injuries. A lot of deaths happen. And honestly, they've been increasing. We've been getting more deaths, not less deaths over the time. And a lot of it just results into we get a younger workforce doesn't totally understand the dangers and the risks and put themselves in unnecessary risk. And that's starting to show up with, especially with the young workers. Because as our aging workforce goes out the door, these young guys are coming in and they want to do the same job. If not, they want to do the same job as the veteran. And sometimes they want to do it sooner than it took for those that other generation. So you got to really put extra effort into the younger workers and make sure they're well trained, but just make sure that why are we doing the safety? We'll give them a reason why. Everybody wants to know why we're doing it. And once they understand why they're doing it, it's a lot easier to get the buy-in. When trenching is done right, sloping or benching is always the preferred method. I mean, if we can, we can, but some roadways, we can't always do that. We got sidewalks, we got curves. We don't want to take everything out. Got a building right over there. We have to be very concerned about that foundation or this or that. So sometimes we have to keep it very narrow, and that's okay. And then we can do that. So when we keep it narrow, then we need some type of shoring or shielding type system put into the ground. How they look and it depends on what you have for materials. What do you have available? What's available in your community, your city, your country that you can utilize? It could be simple timber. It could be plywood on both sides and a couple of 4x6 struts across, with a couple of 2x10 uprights. And that could be your shoring. That's simple there. Can't tell me you don't have wood around. Everybody's got wood. So that's, well, no, I shouldn't say everybody's got wood, but it's most easily accessible, or metal sheathing. I mean, there's always that too with some type of strut. There's screw jack type struts. There's many things that are available out there in the industry that could help. I've seen a lot of same jacks that they use to support concrete roofs and stuff for concrete roof pours are used in trenches. Well, great idea. Why not? That sounds, if it can hold up a concrete floor above you being poured, it certainly should be able to hold up a trench wall. So there's a lot of different things out there that you can utilize, even if you don't have what you call, quote, quote, the right system for the job. There's always another option. Other utility hazards, chemical spills, definitely. Those chemical spills, not only are they dangerous to health, the public, depending on what we're spilling, to, what we have, we can go back to why we're spilling, but they can also affect the public. They can also affect traffic. They can affect all kinds of things going on around it. When traffic gets upset, people get upset, people can't walk or go where they want to go. That just raises up a lot of emotions and it causes a lot of other issues. And so the underlying spill on the roadway suddenly becomes a big deal now instead of just a small little cleanup. But we still have to clean them up. We still have environmental issues that we have to be concerned about. Where is that water going? Is it going into the catch basin? That catch basin leading straight out to that river or to that lake or to the ocean? So we got to be concerned about that as well. So we want to make sure that we take care of those chemical spills. Confined spaces. We want to make sure we address those confined spaces, find those confined spaces, and put procedures in place so that we don't put ourselves in unnecessary risk. Because the problem with confined space is you go into that space, it's called a deadly space for a reason. It doesn't look like it's dangerous. We can't see it. We can't smell it. We can't taste it. So we think, oh, nothing wrong. And we go in there to find out there's a lack of oxygen. Well, you can't see, taste, or feel a lack of oxygen. So there are some concerns about confined spaces. So we can't just assume that it looks great, so it is great, because that doesn't work. Chlorine leaks. Oh, definitely. I mean, gas leaks. We had some dangerous stuff in one of the cities called Nanaimo that wasn't that long ago where we had gas chlorine escape. And because the wind was just the right way, it actually took it away from a whole community and ended up sending it to the bush just by the wind. And that was a luck of the draw because that leak went on for several days before it got caught. And in the meantime, it killed hundreds of animals in the bush. It could have easily turned around and gone straight to the community and killed hundreds of people. So gas chlorine is a big issue. Liquid chlorine is a dangerous thing. I mean, obviously high concentrations can do some serious damage to the body and to the lung system. Just in the gas itself that can be exposed from it. So chlorine is something that we really have to respect. We have to understand it. We have to know how we can package it, how we can transport it. Material safety data sheets, we need to have the information on that, or safety data sheets, you can call them as well. We want to make sure that we have the information so that when you have the information and you get the knowledge, you're going to be much safer. Traffic, we've already talked about the dangers of traffic. Utility locating, exposing, hand expose those utilities. Don't risk the machine getting close. You don't know what's underneath the ground. You can't see it. Nobody has x-ray vision, right? So poke and prod with some pro bars, dig it up with a shovel. Great, I've seen it. You can call it daylighting now. I see the utility there, so I know how deep it is. Now put a bar in front of it, a shovel in front of it. Now get the machine to dig and use that as a guide. And tools and equipment. Just make sure we got the proper tools for the proper job and the right equipment for the right job. Don't try to switch them around. That can result in a lot of dangerous things too. So emergency response plans, training are definitely applicable to your utility. Good solid emergency response plans, good solid, well, we'll get more into policy procedures and stuff like that in a second. But obviously if you prepare, failure to prepare is preparing to fail. I mean, really, ultimately, that's what's happening, right? If you don't plan for some of these unexpected things, then when they happen, it's like, oh, wow, I didn't know that was going to happen. Well, you didn't really put a lot of preparation into it. So you need to prepare for those things, prepare for some of those hazards. So what can we do? What's the things that we can do to make our job safer? I always start with daily safety tailgate talks. So you can call them, they've been called different things, daily safety talks, tailgate talks, morning talks. We make a checklist. We document everything that we do. We talk about during that day, what are the things, safety hazards we're going to encounter during that day? You know, is it going to be traffic? Is it going to be a utility we have to cross? Is it dangerous utility? Is it not? Are we need to break out the jackhammer today and jackhammer that curb out of there because we don't have any other way to do it? You know, that's something new for that day. So we got to make sure we go over that. And the reason why we want these daily is because we want to be reminded daily of what's happening. Because if I tell you, hey, you know, be careful with that jackhammer, you don't use it for 3 months and then you use it, well, you're not going to remember anything I talked about 3 months ago. So the daily safety talk is there for every day to remind us, hey, by the way, this is what we need to do. Yeah, I know you guys know that, but I'm just telling you again, just a reminder because you don't become complacent, right? We don't want that. So personal protective equipment, very important, right? We want to keep wearing it. Now, how are we going to get someone to keep wearing it? Making it look good. Sure. Hey, I had my crew saying, you know, they talked about, hey, I want to put some cool stickers on my hard hat. You know, why not? Sure. As long as it doesn't affect the integrity of the hard hat, yes, you can. How do we know that? Call the manufacturer. Does a sticker affect it? In most cases, no, it doesn't. So load it with some stickers. Make it look cool. That's great. If you want to add something to it, as long as it doesn't damage the integrity and the purpose of what it's doing, make it your own. You know, I find that people, once they do that, it's so much, they want to wear it. They want to advertise it. They want to do whatever they can to use it, right? So make them want to use it. Knowing your worker, knowing what they want and asking them what they want, you can deliver. And so they can wear the right hard hat. They can wear comfortable, you know, glasses and safety glasses, safety glasses, pardon me, not just glasses, safety glasses. You know, make sure that they're wearing their proper, and that be part of your daily safety crew. Is everybody got their proper PPE? Are you all prepared today? Does everybody have their safety glasses? Everybody have your plugs just in case they need them? You know, you can make that whole list. And when it comes to COVID, same thing. You know, that could be a part of it. Do you have your mask today? Right? Because people forget stuff all the time. Believe me, every morning, even I will forget stuff. Even you will forget stuff in the morning, right? We're not perfect, right? We are imperfect human beings. The only way the work can be perfect is if a human didn't touch it. Sounds silly, but in some ways it is reality. So good personal protective equipment, a good solid plan, compliment those that are wearing it, you know, reward those that wear it, and then encourage those who don't by education so that they will. And then over time, it becomes part of the process. First aid, emergency procedures. You know, make sure you're planning for first aid and emergency. Make sure you're planning for something that could potentially happen. And make sure you plan for emergencies that could come along. You don't know what's going to happen, but you know, it's really good to have a plan in case something does. And when it does, hey, now we have a plan. We can start implementing. Safe operating procedures, safe working guidelines within your safety policies, for sure. You know, if somebody doesn't understand it, they can read a little bit about it. Having these, we always have a weekly safety talk about a working guideline or a safe operating procedure that we have on a certain tool. We have that every week. So if we're working 42, 48 weeks a year, we're going to have that many crew talks and safety talks about those tools. And I always try to put those safety talks in relation to what we're doing. If we're breaking concrete today, hey, guess what? It's going to all be about jackhammers and breaking concrete today, and about proper PPE when creating dust. You know, so create those policies and procedures, do those crew talks on a regular basis, do that in your morning daily safety talk, and you can just add more and more safety to it, you know, and set a great example. We'll talk about that in a second. So a lot of these safety policies and safe working guidelines should be on traffic control, utility locating, confined spaces, trenching, tools, equipment safety, usage, equipment safety, you know, and I can go on and on and on. Like, there's so many different things that we can talk about, but we need to have those policies in place. And then we need to not only have them, but not have them in a binder at work, have them out there and show them and go through them and have these daily safety talks, including those procedures. And it's amazing how how much before you realize it, how many people know what they're doing and are so much safer. Training and education, huge part of that. And training and education just doesn't mean we have a training program. We talked all about it, which we do. We talk about the operational aspect, the safety aspect of this certain, whatever that may be, maybe a fire hydrant rebuild, could be a variety of different things. Once we have that training and education in place, there's still the important piece of following up. So following up means is, how did that training work for you? And I don't mean, we evaluate every program, but a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks down the road, a month down the road, hey, how did that training work for you? Are you using anything that was taught? Is there any tools in that training that you were able to use? Because if there's no tools that you can use, you can't put if that training doesn't give you any tools that you can utilize, then maybe it's the training that's ineffective, because you want to be able to give you something, a takeaway that you can use in your daily activities at work. Because if you don't have a takeaway, then what's the point? So those are the things you got to think about, but follow up, set a good example. I can't say that enough. I can't say it enough. I don't know how many managers I know that'll come into my job site and we have a new eyewear safety glass policy and they're not wearing safety glasses. You know what? They're not on my job site. They're not coming. And I don't care who they are. I don't care if they're the president of the company. They're not coming on my job site unless they're wearing the same PPE and setting a good example for the rest of my employees. Because if you're not setting a good example, then what are you setting? You're setting a bad example. So all you're doing is just making it worse. You're not making it any better. So you got to have that commitment. The commitment must go from the top of the company all the way through. And only when it's in the top of the company and all the way through is it going to make a difference. If it's just the management that's all about safety and the employees aren't, because above the management, nobody's following anything, that's not the right way to do it. And a lot of people say, well, they never see the president. They never see the company owner. Guess what? That company owner, take one day off, go up, visit some crews where all the PPE you're supposed to be wearing. Set a good example. Wow, the owner's even wearing that PPE. Wow. So that is where it really comes in. You got to make it effective. You got to make it if you want to eventually make it if you want to make it safety culture, you want to become part of the norm. And in order to do that, that means everybody has to do it. We can't just have certain people doing it, certain people not. And if there's one manager setting a bad example by not doing something, well, then we need to address that, right? Don't be afraid. You need to address it, okay? So following up, setting an example, definitely. Site inspections, definitely. And mentorship, like do site inspections. Inspect your sites, but don't say, hey, if we find something problem, it's going to be really bad. Reward the sites that are in great shape and then work with the people who aren't there yet. Instead of, don't just say, oh, this is the shits. What kind of site is this? This is garbage. Well, nobody wants to hear that either. So got to be very careful when you do these inspections. You got to have the right attitude when you go in and do them. And you got to be able to mentor your guys. You got to be able to mentor them and show them the proper way of doing things, right? And you got to set good examples in doing so. Site investigations. Yes, if there's an accident or what we call a near miss where it could potentially have been a serious accident, we need to address that. We need to go out there, talk about it, and do something about it. So investigations are a great piece part because, hurting an employee gets hurt costs a lot of money. Replacing that employee, the additional training that's going to have, the inconvenience of the family, the company, the people, the job. There's so much that gets affected by one person getting hurt. You can follow it right through the whole group and behind you. So it's very important that you do your site investigations after any type of accident or near miss, come up with recommendations. No names are mentioned. Just come up with recommendations. Make sure it's clear and precise. Make sure that everything you're doing is clear, that everyone is seeing it and it's well communicated. And it gets to be a buy-in. It becomes something that's just normal. And then don't forget to do your safety audit. That's an internal audit and an external audit. So external audit would be out on the job site. Internal audit would be inside, making sure that the administration, the safety admin, is working and supporting the safety operations. You don't have safety admin supporting safety operations, you've got nothing. You've got safety operations, it kind of works, it kind of doesn't. But if nobody's watching over it, maintaining it, or monitoring it, or finding out who's properly trained and who isn't, then what have you got? You're just building up for something that's going to go wrong. And if you do all of these things and you do them, with clear honesty, you do them up front, you don't beat around the bush, or sorry, bad expression, but if you do this and follow and set a good example and keep on it and keep going with it, eventually it becomes safety culture. It just becomes part of what we do. And it can still make an increased profit, a huge profit. I mean, down the road, if you're a lot less injuries, a lot less headaches, a lot less problems, a lot more organization, and a lot more things can get done. It makes a big difference. It really does. So safety training in your utility, definitely. I mean, hey, COVID's made it very difficult for us. but it hasn't made it impossible. We think of our way around these things. So the norm on our site's a little bit different. Normally, you know what, honestly, I would love to come out and do some training. I enjoyed Belize. I enjoyed the people. I enjoyed the culture. I still in communication with them. I still want to follow up with them, and I'm still contacting them because I want to make sure, I shouldn't say I want to make sure, I just want to ensure that I'm being helpful some way, somehow. We'd love to come out there. I'd love to see what you're doing, and I'd love to see how we can work together. But you know what, the COVID, I can understand that that's obviously not going to happen, and the risk, it's going to increase the risk, and we don't want to do that either. So there are virtual training classrooms that are available that we can do just like this. So I'm right now in my virtual training room. So yeah, this is the old classroom, dust and cloudy, because you know what, eventually that's going to become the new norm, right? You're going to see an instructor like me, but this is live virtual training. I just did a training session yesterday, a full day workshop on trench safety. And I've got all kinds of different tools right here, but it was all done virtually, but the video has to be there. It's interactive. I need to interact with all of my students at all times. So we need to talk to each other and work through problems and work through issues. And it's a workshop. We want to give away tools that'll help you do your job. That's the whole idea, right? That's what we want to do. So virtual training classes are definitely the next way to go, and they're live. So it's just like having the instructor there. The only thing is he's not physically there. So you can't shake my hand or knuckle bump me. But you can knuckle bump the screen. Does the same thing. So I hope that fills up a whole lot of information. I know it was a little bit quick. This is a bit of my topic and my passion, as you can probably tell. I'm a little emotionally wound up on stuff. So, but hopefully there's a few things you picked up. But I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have, either now or email or contact or anything like that. So. We definitely have our information there. You can contact me or Valerie. We'll try to help you in any way we possibly can. That's what we're trying to do. And we're trying to make it a safer place that everyone can go home and everyone's happy. So that's all I have, Ignatius.
Thank you, Ron. This is an amazing presentation. And we'd like now to get our participants to ask questions. I already have a question in the chat. Someone, I think Livingston Samuel, if you want to go on Livingston, you can ask the question directly. Otherwise, I will call it out for you.
Yeah, you can go, Ignis. That's not a problem.
All right. Okay. Livingston was asking, he said, some operators report that steel toe boots have done some damage to the toe due to rubbing at the side of the big toe, and getting a larger size is still not comfortable. What best way to address this and still provide adequate safety for this condition?
All right, great question. And you know, I'm a great person to ask that question. And as Valerie knows, I have foot deformities and I have bunions in my feet. I actually need what we call, there's a triple E that most people usually understand. Triple E means triple wide, like E is really wide, double E is wide, triple E is even wider. Mine are even wider than that. So yes, I've always had that challenge personally. I've actually had surgery on one foot to fix it. I'm actually having surgery in 2 days to fix the other. So I can actually wear my steel toe boots or my regular steel toe boots, because right now I have to get custom pair. So I need to get a more expensive pair of boots that are wider so that I can do it. But I can't risk losing it. So there are, so there are other boots out there that are available in the industry. The best case scenario is if you can't find the boot that fits your foot the best, maybe the question is something to do with either the way your foot's in there, your sock, could be the insole. There's so many different things. I would say there's a lot of people out there that can help. There's orthopedics and stuff like that can definitely help in focusing on that. But there's also steel toe boots are available in the industry, and I know they're not cheap. I totally know that. My last boots cost me just over $250 just for a standard pair, and the $350 for the good ones. That's a lot of money in Canadian dollars. In American dollars, we're at 75% on American dollars. So that's still $200 US for a pair of boots. And most people would think you got to be nuts, but sometimes if that's what I need to do, that's what I need to do. But your boots, definitely you don't want to compromise on it. There's always a wear. If not steel toe, there are different carbon fiber substitutes, but they're also very expensive. So it's really, I wish it'd be a simple answer, but you need to know what the foot is. You need to understand what the foot issues are and what they're all about and what they're missing, and then try to find the boot that most matches that foot. That's
Well,
usually
I can make a point on that, because this is a very typical woman's problem, is not getting shoes to fit. And very often it's just a question of wearing them in, and you're getting blisters and problems at the beginning, and you just had to get used to that particular boot. So, you know, if you're a woman, you're using Vaseline in between your toes, you're using little you know, cotton pads until you've broken those boots in, and you start off, you know, using them perhaps around the house for 10 minutes and breaking them in. It's not like any other, it's like other things. You've got to break those boots in. You can't expect, if you've never worn them before, to get into a pair of boots and they're going to fit without any problems if you start off wearing them for 9 hours. So break them in gently.
Okay, I got 2 questions. Ezekiel Francis has got his hand up, and we also have Elvin Roberts after him. Go ahead, Ezekiel.
Yes, good day. How important do you think verbal communication is when it comes to health and safety?
Communication when it comes to
Health and safety.
health and safety? Oh, huge. Communications is a big part of the whole piece of health and safety, for sure. Be able to communicate it, and basically, if your workers, your employees know what their expectations are, understand what their roles are, understand what they're supposed to be doing, and are being asked in a way to participate in the safety process. That's a lot of communication, but that helps immensely, because it makes us feel a part of the company. We feel part of the solution. You know, if they're like we had with the eyeglass policy, or the safety glass policy. When that got implemented, you know, people didn't want to wear them. Well, if they don't want to wear them, well, why don't they want to wear them? Do they not understand all the concerns and the reasons? We can't just say, you know, you must wear them, that's a policy, and that's it. Well, that's all great and dandy, but however, there's always the why are we wearing them? Can you give me a better reasoning why? And that always helps. And if you give them a good understanding, that always helps. So communication is a huge part of it, because, you know, you can always say, well, you know, what would you suggest? Is there a certain, you know, eyewear or a certain type of safety glass that works better for you, or you like, or you've seen before? Oh yeah, I've seen these ones over here. These tinted ones are really cool. Oh great, let's see if we can't get those. Would you wear those? Yeah, fantastic, perfect. So, but bringing a part into that really works well. I like to have a big safety committee. I like to grow that safety committee, and I like everyone to be out there as safety champions and going out there and helping everyone and being as clear and precise and communicative as possible. We want to have everyone, even my committees have always been very well trained. They know all of the different safety policies and procedures and the reason why we do them. And that seems to always make a huge difference. Then it becomes, eventually you'll always get the bad apple in the bag. I know that. There's always going to be 1 or 2 individuals that are always going to make it really hard. But those 1 or 2 individuals, it's really difficult to convince those people, but convincing the main population, eventually they will go along with it. When it becomes a safety culture, eventually they're going to look bad if they don't. So it's just a matter of time. You don't want to specifically target them, but target those people that are really want to be involved and involve as many people as possible and communicate to as many people as possible. Newsletters, you know, memos, whatever it is. Make sure everybody knows what's going on. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, we've got, thank you very much for that. We've got Elvin Roberts from St. Vincent has a question. Go ahead, Elvin. And next is Camille Lecomte.
Yes, good afternoon. My question is in relation to the diabetics that we'll have within our workforce. It has to do with who cannot afford to have a bruise on their toe from the steel toe, but they cannot compromise the safety of their feet at the same time. Is there an alternative material as opposed to the steel that we can purchase for that category of workers?
Yes. Thanks, Alvin. Yes, there is a carbon fiber toe that can be utilized. We use that in utility locators and stuff like that we have, where they have to use electronic equipment where the steel toe may interfere. We have other boots and solutions. That's usually the carbon fiber boots and cap and toe, and as well as shank. So those are other alternatives. Also, the width of the boot's also a big help. Sometimes buying a boot a little bit bigger and wearing a thicker sock also makes a big difference. So, you know, much to Valerie was mentioning too, is not all boots are comfortable. A good way to do it is, I know the steel toe can't be manipulated, but the rest of the boot usually can. And if you get a wider toe, you can get a wider steel toe as well. What I used to always do is I would soak my, some of the shoe manufacturers may not like this, but this always has worked for me, is a lot of times I will soften my boot by either using some type of oils or some type of grease to soften the leather, and then wear them in around my yard, mowing the lawn and stuff like that. And then as they dry, they fit your foot. They kind of suck in and fit and dry up and fit your foot. So it's kind of like custom fitting it. That's always been an option. You can soak it in water too, but sometimes water will loosen up the glue. But carbon fiber is the one different material out there, but it's not cheap. That's the unfortunate thing. Most carbon fiber boots in Canada are usually around $300, $350 Canadian, which is what, $225 US. So it's not a cheap solution, but it is a solution. That is an option.
Okay, thanks there. We've got Camille Lecointe. She has a question. You want to go ahead, Camille, yourself, or you want me to put it? Okay, she's asking, how do you inspire your operators to wear their PPE?
I inspire by example. So I was, when I was younger as a safety guy, I'd always carry a whole bunch of glasses, a whole bunch of safety glasses in my pockets, a whole bunch of earplugs in my pockets, and I'd hand them out, on a constant basis to those that weren't wearing it. That was one of the ways. That's how I started out. But really it comes down to is usually once people understand or know why we're doing it or why we're wearing it, it tends to be a bit of an easier buy-in. And then buying the right one that fits really well or is a good looking, or, like I said, a great hard hat that fits really nice and comfortable, and you get the nice, what we call sweatband inside there. It makes it really comfortable. People tend to be, when it's comfortable, they tend to forget it's even there, and it just becomes something part of what they normally wear. Nobody wears anything uncomfortable. Everybody likes to wear things comfortable. But they got to understand that it is a policy. It's out there to save them. Yes, it's blanketed, but it is out there to prevent serious injuries. The other piece to that puzzle is if they're not wearing it and they get hurt, they may not be covered. They may not be any coverage for them. They may be on their own. Because if they didn't follow proper policy and procedures, there's always that question of, well, if you didn't follow all procedures, you get hurt. Who's going to pay then? This could be your job. The other thing that a lot of people understand is when it comes down to it, it's still policy. And if they're not wearing it, there can be repercussions from this. It's not a policy out there to hurt anybody. This is a policy to help. If people don't want help, then the question is why? Why don't you want any help? Why don't you want to protect yourself? Do you not want to go back to your family? What are the underlying issues? What's really going on? Because sometimes it could be a digger deep into finding out what that person's real challenges are. But PPE is something that we have to have. It's called personal protective equipment for a reason. We wear it. We want to make sure that everyone wears it. Management wears it. Superintendents wear it. Everyone who comes on the site wears it. Bring out high-profile company representatives to come out. Make sure they're wearing everything, and bring them out there to meet the crew and stuff like that. And if they constantly see it all the time, eventually they're just going to know, hey, I guess this is how things work. Eventually it becomes there. When more and more people start wearing PPE, then the people who aren't are going to start to feel like they're being left out of the group. They will start to gravitate back and say, oh, okay, fine. Or make it interesting, give them something unusual. And they don't want to wear a hard hat, and that's been one of the problems. Let's get a customized, cool looking hard hat. Maybe it's a couple of cool stickers we need to put on there to make it look good, to make it their own. When it's their own, they feel it's part of it, then it'll work for them a lot easier. So I hope those are a few suggestions I might have.
Well, I can just add to that, perhaps. I was dealing with one of the larger utilities in the Caribbean, and we were talking about PPE and the fact that the guys just were not wearing it. And the manager said, I keep telling them and I keep telling them. And I said, I haven't seen you wear it personally anytime you've been on site. And he paused and he said, you're right. And he started wearing it. And within probably 3 weeks, the crews were wearing it. So what you're saying about setting the example is absolutely right. And when Operators Without Borders go down anywhere, as Ron knows and anybody else who's worked with us, I tell them you have to take your PPE, and it doesn't matter whether anybody else is wearing it on the local crews. You wear your PPEs and you set an example. So you're absolutely correct.
Yeah, very good for that. We have another question. The questions are coming fast and furious. From Livingston Samuel. Are there any standard set guidelines to preparing a chlorine leak response plan, or each potential situation has to be addressed on its own merit?
I would say a little of both. You know, you can have a general emergency spill procedure around leaks and stuff like that, a general one that'll kind of take up, you know, say 60 to 70% of those leaks that would normally happen. And how can we, you know, what are we going to utilize? What kind of PPE do I have to wear when we're working around it? What's our cleanup response? You know, what kind of products and supplies and materials that we're going to use during this? If you have that general procedure, then it has to be more specific to each individual. But it really depends on just what kind of leaks. Take all the leaks that you have out of 10 leaks, take the top 7, see what this common areas are, and then build a common, you know, emergency response plan around that. And then it just has to, you know, add on to the little extra ones that start coming out. Because you're right, you can't always plan for every different type of leak, but you can plan for the general ones. And as long as we know that when we're dealing with these leaks, we have to have all this PPE, we need to use these type of materials, this type of absorbent, this type of cleaning product, you know, once you have those in place, we need to make these phone calls. These people need to know, this responder needs to know, you know, these supervisors need to know. Once you kind of have that basic response, then the other pieces of it is just a matter of adding them on. And eventually, before you know it, you have an awesome support plan in place that'll take care of a good chunk of those type of issues.
Okay. Whilst we're at it in the break here, I just would like to let the participants know that I have set up what we call a Mentimeter quick questions just to get your interaction. And you can go to www.mentimeter.com. I have posted it in the chat room, and the passcode for it is 151705. I also posted that there as well, and you can respond to the questions. I will give you a few minutes to, I'll probably give you a few minutes to get into it, and then once I see your responses, I'll put it up. I'll share it on the screen. Okay, but you can still proceed with your questions in the interim while we do that. But I liked some of what you said there, Ron. It is about what is said in management, about management by walking around, so that the managers and the supervisors, the leaders of the organizations need to go around and see what is going on, and also to lead by example. And that is a very powerful statement for all leaders and for the staff. I think that there cannot be any better way than communicating the importance of personal protective equipment and safety at the workplace.
Thanks, Ignatius. That's been the best response that we've had, and we've had some supervisors, some superintendents that have been reluctant to set that a good example, and in most cases they never came near my crews, simply because if they can't come on my crew properly PPE'd, then they're not coming on my crew. And I've gotten into trouble for that too, even as a sub foreman, where they say, "Hey, Ron, you're stepping your bounds," and I go, I'm not stepping my bounds. You actually are, because I'm focusing on the policies and procedures of what we have here. If you can't at least set a good example and represent them, because that's what you are, as a representative of us, then you're telling us a different story without even telling us. So yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's been a powerful thing. It's worked out really well.
But so far, these are the responses we've had. We were just trying to see how many of you are certified operators. And I just did this one. I'm going to share another one with you shortly, and you will go to it. All right.
Excellent.
Any other questions, anyone?
I see a weed cutter one on the chat here. When some operators use weed cutters, they complain that the face masks and goggles get frosted up while breathing. Can you advise on what can be done to render some of this comfort? Yes, we've had that issue happen to us as well, especially around the face masks. And we end up going into the face shields as the one where there's a lot more airflow around it, but doing the same purpose as that. So if you can try a shield, you're in a lot of cases there. Well, when we operate chainsaws, for instance, we have a shield. rather than rather than safety glasses and a mask. We have a large shield that goes in front of us, and that way it does a bunch of things for us. But a shield tends to be a lot better because airflow goes around it. You can buy some goggles that do have some air holes around the outside that help ventilate, and you can also buy wipes that contain some alcohol on it that you can rub on the inside, and they actually will reduce the amount of fogging up. They're actually defogging. They use them in scuba diving in some cases as well. They use the same wipes. So you can use those same type of wipes inside your goggles too. That helps a lot. But you're right. When you wear a mask, especially the N95s, there's a lot of heat generated, moisture generated within that mask, and it starts to rise up, and then it gets right into your goggles and into your glasses. So that can be a challenge sometimes. But if you try those things, hopefully that'll help.
Any other questions at this stage? Please remember to go to mentimeter.com and you can log in with 151705. And the other question there now is just to find how useful and so we can evaluate the presentations. I see we've only had one person responded so far. Not good enough, but I know that you're thoroughly interested.
So we have one person setting a great example.
So Ignatius,
others to follow.
if I can just add in that.
Yes, go in, please.
This is obviously a very quick overview of many subjects concerning health and safety. With Operators Without Borders, we have a number of safety courses, and Ron is usually the teacher extraordinaire. He is, I honestly can say, the top teacher in Canada, instructor in Canada on safety issues, and does an absolutely fantastic job. He used to be my instructor for World Water and Wastewater Solutions, and now we're doing everything through Operators Without Borders. So all of this training is free. Normally, we go on site to do safety training and the other training. Ron was supposed to be going to Antigua and Barbuda 2 days before Canada went into lockdown. So this is why we're going to do everything online. It's not quite as good right now, but it's the best we can do. But we can still do some online training. So all of our information, our emails is on the bottom of the slides. And if anybody's interested in having any of the safety training, they're more than welcome to get a hold of us. So or we can work with you on putting some one-day courses on or half-day courses.
Yeah, well, we really appreciate this.
They're all gift card. Everything is free.
A pretty good session. Again, I think we registered. I think at one time there were 32 participants, but it has been consistently at 31. I think some people have been going on and off. Here's the quick result of our poll. I think some people perhaps have not been able to log into menti.com, but that's what we're looking like now. So it seems the majority of people are finding the session to be extremely useful.
That's excellent. Excellent. I'm glad to hear that.
All right. Any other questions you have, people? We're really happy to have her on. I think that was another one of our excellent sessions, and we do really appreciate the effort by Operators Without Borders. I have to let you know that next week we are going to be having a full workshop, again presented, complements the Operators Without Borders, and it will be focusing on incident command systems. And I think we have had, Susan has been receiving quite a number. I think we are well over 30 now. We still expect a few more to join us. The deadline for them to register is on Friday. And Susan has been sending these names over to Operators Without Borders to let us know, so that you can send them the contact information directly, the registration information. Yeah.
No, sounds great. Yeah, it'd be great to have a few people on there. I'll be working in the background with Greg, who will be the instructor for that, and I'll be doing the tech support and making sure that everyone has the proper information. And I also run the online web testing system.
Well, if some of you have not been able to go to operators without, to the menti.com site, you still have a couple of days within which it still would be available and accessible to you for this. And you can always get the code. I will share it again with you. As I said, the session is being recorded, and we, as usual, we are going to put it in a YouTube format and email it to you as well, and we will be posting it on our website, CAWASA, the CAWASA website, www.cawasa.org. So I'd like to thank Valerie Jenkinson and Ron Enns for putting on this wonderful presentation this evening. And we really want to thank you immensely for giving us your time, free of charge. So have a good one. Keep safe, everyone. And still remember your personal protective equipment, particularly during the COVID period. This has been another of our water webinars, CAWASA Wednesday webinars, as it has been called now, and that has been number 6. And we hope to continue. And please remember, next week it's not going to be at the usual time. We are not going to have the regular webinar. It's going to be on the 22nd. We are going to be presenting the ICS workshop, which is going to run from 1 p.m. I think to 5 p.m. So it's a half-day workshop, virtual workshop. It is. It's not just a webinar, and it is going to be. It's if you're just going to participate, or you will determine whether you want to be certified, because there will be a certificate at the end. So you will have to present some form of ID, and I think when the information is emailed to you, you will get all that detail. So please do follow up and continue to join us at CAWASA webinar series on Wednesdays. Thank you very much.
Great.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you,
I'll
Ron.
stay online with you just for a moment, Ignatius.
Yeah.